In the first lecture, we have learned about the letter that Mr. Jim McPherson had written to Mrs. Connie McPherson. Today, we will see the next part of our lesson. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into its envelope. I kept awake all night. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I drove into Bridgeport, just a few miles away. I asked the boy walking his dog where Copper Beaches was. So here the writer, by seeing the address on that envelope, he reached Bridgeport. It was a few miles away from his home, and then he asked the boy where is Copper Beaches, and he asked about the house number 12. There he found house number 12 was a burnout shell, the roof capping, the windows boarded up. Boarded up means covered with wooden boards. So it was a destroyed house, and windows were covered with wooden boards. I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of um, Mrs. MacPherson. So by seeing at house, he asked the next house, where is Mrs. MacPherson? Oh yes, said the old man in his slippers. He knew her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit muddle-headed, but at her age she was entitled to be, wasn't she? 101 years old. She had been in the house when it caught fire. No one really knew how the fire has started, but it could well have been candles. So the old person, he told writer that Mrs. MacPherson means Connie MacPherson. She was a lovely lady, and she was a bit confused when the house got fired. She was inside the house. Her age is 101 years. She had been in the house when caught in fire. No one really know how the fire had started. So how the house got fire, no one knows. But it is told that because of candles the house had got fire. She used candles rather than electricity, because she always thought electricity was she always thought electricity was too expensive. The fireman had caught her out just in time. So according to Connie MacPherson, electricity is too expensive, so she uses candidates. She was in a nursing home now. He told me Burlington House on the Dorchester Road on the other side of the town. So presently she is living in the same city but on the other side of the town. That place is known as Burlington House and it is on the Dorchester Road. I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. So it is a nursing home. It is like hospital. There were a paper chains up in the hallway and a lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a lopsided angel on top. I said, I was a friend come to visit Mrs. Macpherson to bring her a Christmas present. I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. So it, the nursing home was decorated because it was Christmas Day. The matron had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. So here the matron, the bus lady who is taking care there, she was wearing hat on. She was looking very happy. She even offered me a mince pie. She walked me along the corridor. Mrs. Mac is not in with the others. She told me. She is rather confused today, so we thought it best if she had a good rest. She has no family, no one visits. So I am sure she will be only too pleased to see you. That matron, she told writer that Mrs. Macpherson is not living with others. She is staying separately. And today she is somewhat confused. She has no family and no one visits her. And by looking at you, she will be pleased. She took me into a conservatory with wicker chants and potted plants all around and left me. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap. She had silver white hair pinned into wispy bun. She was gazing out at the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. So there was no any thought in her eyes or no any emotions in her eyes. Happy Christmas, Connie. Writer went and he said her, hello, Happy Christmas, Connie. I went on and he said, I found this. I think it's your. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. I opened a tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition and her face became suffused with a sudden glow of happiness. So, in the beginning, she doesn't give any response to the writer. So writer took out the tin box and he gave her and he said her that I got it and I think it is yours. That was the moment her eyes lit up. So she recognized it and she became very happy. The writer explained about the desk, about how he found it, but writer says here that he doesn't think that she was listening to me. For a while she said nothing, but stroked the letter tenderly with her fingertips. Suddenly she reached out and took my hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. Next moment, she took writer's hands and her eyes filled with tears. You told me you would come home by Christmas, dearest, she said. And here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim. Dear, sit down. So here she thinks that the person or the writer who has come taking that tin box, he is her husband, Jim. So she tells him, come and sit here. The writer sat down beside her. She kissed my cheek. I read your letter so often. Now the lady or Mrs. Kunimag person started to speak. She said to writer that I read your letter so often, Jim. Every day I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me. And now you are now. Now you're back. You can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? So she told him that you had written in the letter that you would come, and really now you have come. I always wanted to hear your voice. So now let us read this letter. I just want to hear your voice. I would love that so much. I like your voice and I would love that so much. And then perhaps we will have some tea. I have made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. So today is a Christmas day, so I will have made a nice Christmas cake also, and all around the marzipan on, on that cake. I know how much you love marzipan. So the cream on that cake, you likes the cream on the cake. I know. This is the way the writer did not reveal his identity to Mrs. Coney person. So here Mrs. Connie Macpherson is a very old lady. She could not recognize a writer. She thought the writer or the author who had brought tin box, he was her husband. So she became very happy, and her husband came back as he had promised her in the letter that he would come back from the war. So she was waiting, and on the Christmas day, coincidentally, Arthur goes there to give her letter, and she thought that her husband has come, and she becomes very happy, and the happiness what she got, it was known as the best Christmas present, and it was the best Christmas present for Mrs. Connie Macpherson. So the her husband, whom she was loving much, he comes back on Christmas Eve, and it is the best Christmas present for her. So in this way, we have completed the best Christmas present in the world. This lesson, so all the students read it carefully. Thank you.